Alright, fellas, so let us not lose momentum. I just subscribed to TryHackMe so that we would have a very seamless experience when working through the junior pen tester path. Let's look at this path one more time. Previously, I've done the first two rooms. So in yesterday's video and the day before, I've done the pen testing fundamentals and principles of security, which were extremely boring. Now, hopefully today we're going to start actually working on something more interesting. And the one that I want to go through today is this one, the walking an application. So let's actually see what this is all about and maybe try to get it done in less than 25 minutes or so. Let's see. So start machine, I believe that's what you actually need to do. So I'm quite very new to this whole try hack me stuff. I've been on the platform years ago when it was just starting out and they didn't have this kind of stuff. So yes, in this room you will learn how to manually review a web application. Again, before we start, I want to say that probably before me, multiple people have done this walkthrough on YouTube, which is why I don't want to keep on building and repeating the same information all over again. What I want to do is to actually add my own twist to everything. So I'm going to interfere here and there uh, with stuff from my own experience. In this room, you will learn how to manually review a web application for security issues using only the inbuilt tools in your browser. Perfect. This is what I wanted. This is what I like to do because I don't do Kali Linux or Parrot OS anymore. I'm just using a virtual machine, a VPS actually, not a virtual machine, but a virtual private server, with Ubuntu on and the bare minimum of tools. Mostly I'm using in Recon, I'm using the tools that I built myself, so my personal scripts, my custom tools in Python and Bash. And other than that, I'm actually using Burp Suite and the web browser. I'm using the web browser mostly when I do code review with the JS Beautifier plugin installed. Here's a short breakdown of the inbuilt browser tools you will use throughout this room. So view source, of course, everyone knows what that is. Inspector, learn how to inspect page elements and make changes. So if you right click on Chrome, you have the inspect. Now in this case, I'm not really sure if they're talking about Chrome or Firefox, but anyway, they kind of work similarly. In terms of what I prefer most, even though I use Chrome a lot, I think Firefox is better suited for this type of stuff. Debugger, inspect and control the flow of a page's JavaScript, see all the network requests a page makes. Start a virtual machine and visit the following URL. This URL will update 2 minutes from when you start the machine. So the machine started roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago, so this should probably be updated. I confirm that I deployed the virtual machine and opened the website. Alright, completed. Now let's move on to the second task. As a penetration tester, your role when reviewing a website or web application is to discover features that could potentially be vulnerable and attempt to exploit them to assess whether or not they are. Good point. These features are usually parts of the website that require some interactivity with the user. Finding interactive portions of the website can be as easy as spotting a login form. So whenever you find an interactive form, portion, asset, stuff, element on the website, you will first test for input validation. Reviewing the websites is JavaScript. An excellent place to start is just with your browser, exploring the website and noting down the individual pages areas with the summary for each one. Yes, I concur, because one of the best ways to actually be thorough in your analysis is to write everything down, take notes. An example site review for Acme IT support website would look something like this. We have the homepage, latest news, So homepage, latest news, what else? News article, contact. So all of them with slash, no extension. We have a parameter here on the article page. Customer login, customer sign up, customers. So if we go to customers, you have the login and you have the sign up here. Reset password dashboard. So all the features, we will start taking a deeper look into some of the pages we have discovered in the next task. Want to make sure that I'm actually recording here, not talking by myself. Though I do talk by myself here. Read the above, no answer needed. Come on, is this a room or what? So 15%, I'm actually starting not to like this try hack me stuff. 15 or 20% of the room and we haven't done anything interesting. Viewing the page source, which is the human readable code returned to our browser client from the web server each time we make a request. The code is made up of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So in this case, we just right click and we can do the view source, or we can simply we can simply hit Ctrl+U. Alright. How do I view the page source? Right click exactly as I told you. In your browser menu, you'll find an option to view the page source, which is exactly there. At the top of the page, you'll notice, let's view some page source. Some code starting with this and ending with this. So these are actually comments. Let's actually see if we have some comments here. We have a comment here, page generated in blah blah blah. Anything else? Comments are messages left by the website developer, usually to explain, well, not only that, but sometimes you get some really interesting stuff in the comments, like stuff left by a developer to other developers where they actually leave sensitive information in there. So make sure to actually look over the comments when you're reviewing the source of a page. Links to different of course, so you have links and the links are actually highlighted. If you click on these, so site.js, it's actually going to start it in another tab, and in this case, do know that I have an extension called JS Beautifier that actually does this entire thing for me. This JS file may not have been minified, but often when you talk about very large JS files, they are minified, and if you have a beautifier plugin, it will actually display it in a more user-friendly way. If you view further down the source page, there is a hidden link to a page starting with SECR. It's probably on the login page. No, it's actually here. Let's go back. So it's not. It's on the front. So let me just get back one more time. If we go back to home, right click view page source, you can see the secret page here. Assist with your IT problems. THM, not a secret anymore. This is probably some sort of a flag or something that we have to find. What is the flag? So the answer is incorrect. Why? Again, what should be displayed is either a blank page. External files such as CSS, JavaScript, and images can be included using the HTML code. In this example, you notice that these files are all stored in the same directory. How do you know that? You know that because you see the / in here, and another directory. But what exactly are they talking about here? Sometimes this isn't an issue and all the files in the directory are safe to be viewed by the public, but in some instances backup files, source or other confidential information could be stored here. In this instance we get a flag in the flag.txt file. So on the secret page, where exactly do we have a flag.txt? Nope. Not even so. Many websites these days are made from scratch and use, I think this is where ours is, or use what's called a framework. A framework is a collection of pre-made code that's easily allow developers to include. So yeah, most often than not they use frameworks such as React, Vue and other flavors. Viewing the page source, other flavors of JavaScript. Viewing the page source can often give us clues into whether a framework is in use or not, or Angular for example. Knowing the framework and version can be a powerful find as there might be public vulnerabilities, which is why you should be using browser extensions such as not Shodan, but of course this one, the JavaScript and CSS code beautifier, and of course there was another one, of course Wapalizer, right. Viewing the frameworks' website, you'll see that our website is in fact out of date. Is it? So this is where it talks about what this Wapalizer actually tells us, what this Acme IT support is built on, Nginx 1.14. If we go to Nginx, we should look at Nginx changelog. Actually, where's the changelog? Maybe documentation? Or we could simply just Nginx changelog, and you can see the latest version is 1.21, and we have on our website the one that we have is 1.14. Anyways, read the update notice and use the information that you find to discover another flag. So looking over, it says that they have what is the flag from the HTML comment? There are two comments here. This page is temporary while we work on the new home page. We could simply try it out. Probably this one. Yeah. What is the flag from the secret link? Maybe this one. What is the directory listing flag? What do they actually mean? Directory listing flag. Where would that be? start from here. Let's look into robots.txt. Disallow staff portal. Nope. Nothing in here. I'm not actually really sure what they're talking about. This is interesting. Maybe this one? Yeah, so that was not very intuitive. But I actually did that from experience. So what I actually did was try to see whether or not the assets directory that was referenced here is actually accessible with permissions. And then if we go back, you can see that it is accessible, and therefore you have some unusual text file. Alright, what is the framework flag? Maybe still in here? Where would that be? Not in here. We're looking for something that starts with THM. Probably not in there. Maybe another directory? THM framework. Maybe it is in there. What is the... Do we need a hint? It's a file.zip on the framework changelog page. It's exactly where I am. tmp.zip. Is it in here? What exactly do you need to do? So you have to ask a lot of questions. Find the file. I found the file. Should probably open the file and get another flag. Alright, this was done. Let me actually make sure that we don't run over the allotted minutes that I wanted to have for this video. 19 minutes. So let's see if we can flash through these ones. Developer tools. Every modern browser includes developer tools. This is a toolkit used to aid web developers in debugging web applications. We're specifically focusing on 3 features. So what's this? Interesting. Where were we? Well, for example, in Firefox, you just go to More Tools and you go to Developer Tools. Now, in Chrome, actually, in Firefox, you go to the 3 lines, which is the settings, and then you go to Web Developer and Web Developer Tools. You also have the inspector, doesn't always represent what's shown on a page. As well as viewing this live, the first 2 articles are readable, but the third has been blocked with a floating notice above. Let's actually see. So if we are on the news, I think this one, right? So right clicking on the premium notice paywall, where is that? This, and then maybe you have to inspect it. What is it that we have here? You should be able to select the inspect option from the menu, which opens the developer tools. You'll see how the elements that make up the website. Premium custom blocker, which it's exactly what we are looking at. You need to locate the div element with the class premium and click on it. It's exactly what I did. You will see all the CSS style that applies to this element, such as margin top. Yeah, it's all actually hidden over here. Of course. So over there. The style we're interested in is the display block. If you click on the word block, what happens? You can type the value of your own choice. Try typing none. If you do none, you'll probably see something different here, of course. So this is how we actually have access to it. There was something on top of that, which was a block, that was the element, and we actually made it go away by saying that there is nothing in there, revealing the content underneath it and the flag. The flag, THM, not so hidden. So it's THM with curly brackets. Alright. This is not as boring as yesterday. So this is done. We are 78% done. Now the debugger, the panel in the developer tools. Where is it? So in Chrome, as I've told you, in Firefox, you go to web developer tools. This is really important. Now in Safari, show web inspector in the advanced tab, and Internet Explorer and Edge, probably not interesting to any of you. This panel in the developer tools is intended for debugging JavaScript. So if we go back here, we have, where is it? Where's the debugger? Waiting to work out why something might not be working, but as penetration testers, it gives us the option of digging deep into the JavaScript. In Firefox and Safari, yeah, it's called sources. Okay, so if we fire up Firefox, but I don't want to fire up Firefox because I've got some open tabs on a pen test that I'm currently working on. In Google Chrome, it's called Sources. On the Acme IT Support website, click on the contact page each time the page is loaded. You might notice a rapid flash of red on the screen. Yep, it was there. It was there. And that actually is shown in our developer, in our network here. If we refresh the page, we should have had seen all the requests in there. For some reason, they're not showing up. Getting back. We're going to use the debugger to work out what this red flag is and if it contains anything interesting. Debugging a red dot wouldn't be something you'd do in a real world as a penetration tester, but it does allow us to use this feature and get used to the debugger. Right. In both browsers on the left side, you see a list of the resources. So in my particular situation, I do not see anything. So one more time, you could simply access the developer tools by hitting Control plus Shift plus I. So if I do Control Shift I, it actually starts. In this case, none of the requests are shown for some very specific reason. For this specific reason. Alright, yeah, so I had some filter applied. We can return many times when viewing JavaScript. You'll notice that everything is on one line, which is because it has been minimized. Exactly what I was telling you about. So we have the .min.js, flash.min.js. We can simply look at this in Open in Sources panel, and in this case you can do a pretty print, which is exactly what my JS Beautifier extension does in the browser here. Otherwise you'd have a minified version of it. We can return some of the formattings by using the pretty print, which looks like two braces. It makes it a little more readable. So if you scroll to the bottom of the flash, you'll see the line flash remove. This little bit of JavaScript is what is removing the red pop-up from the page. So what we can do is simply remove this. We can utilize another feature called breakpoints. These are points in the code that we can force the browser to stop processing the JavaScript and pause the current execution, which is exactly what we want. So in this case, you could simply add a breakpoint here, and then if you click the line number that contains the above code, you'll notice it turns blue. Of course, you've now inserted a breakpoint on this line. Now try refreshing the page and you'll notice the red box stays on page. So back on the page here, Control R to refresh the page. It stopped at the breakpoint. Catch me if you can. So it's And we've actually stopped the execution of the code right before this line 48. What was it? Catch me if thou canst. Alright, so finally, the network tools. One of my favorites. 30 minutes. Damn it. The network tab on the web developer tools can be used to keep track of every external request a web page makes. If you click, so fellas, what I want you to take away from this video is that to be a successful hacker, a very good penetration tester, and a very successful cybersecurity researcher, oftentimes you do not need to go further than your web browser and the developer tools that Firefox, Chrome, and Safari are well equipped with. You don't need fancy tools, you don't need Kali Linux, you do not need Parrot OS, you do not need all that stuff that a lot of kids are using these days. You don't need all the tools, the hundreds, the thousands of tools that come pre-installed with those Linux distributions, because if you're successful, if you are a penetration tester, you will very likely, if you're an efficient penetration tester, you will very likely not use those sorts of tools. Now, if you click on the network tab and then refresh the page, you'll see that all the everything that's requested. So if I do Control R one more time, we can see everything that's requested. With the network tab open, try filling the contact form and pressing the send message button. So they want us to go to the contact form. Alright, let's just have this on the side here with the network open and see if there's something more that's going to be populated in there. Click on send message. You have this thing, this request. So in this case, you have the request, you have the header. This is the actual request, and you have the response in here. So, contact form sent. You'll notice an event in the network tab, and this is the form being submitted in the background using Ajax. Of course, so it's done using Ajax, and you can see it has an termination of, what was it, XHR in here somewhere. So it's an XHR. It tells you that it's an Ajax request. It's a method for sending and receiving network data in a web application background without interfering by changing the current web page. Exactly. So examine the new entry on the network tab, the contact form created, and view the page the data was sent in order to reveal a flag. So one more time, where were we? What did it exactly? So these are the request headers. It's a post request. It's been sent to this address. We have the response headers. And in the response header, you have a flag. You have the request headers. This is what's been sent. You need to look at the payload. It's exactly what I filled in. You have it's nothing on the response, but we can see this X flag header in the response. we can just copy it and then paste it over there. The answer is incorrect. I wonder why. When you find the contact request, make sure you click on it to reveal the response of the request. There might be a response tab shown when you click it, which is exactly, it's there. So I had to actually click on the OK for the message. So I had to click on the OK pop-up for the message to go through entirely. Alrighty, so this one is a done. Took more than I actually thought, so it actually took 35 minutes. Let's see what's next. Probably I have to terminate that one. Content discovery. That's gonna be interesting.